Hello, everybody. I hope everybody can see me here. I'm going to check this and test it and things of that nature. And the I've got to find how everything works. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I think I'm going live. Oh gosh, here we go. All right, so I am not that much on cameras and stuff like that, but we're going to go ahead and get into the news here in just a moment. There's been a lot of stuff going on. And of course, Russia is the big news of the day. Russian TV online platforms are hacked with anti-war message on Victory Day from the mainstream media. Of course, stripes.com. They're just this group, droll looking images of Medvedev, or is that Lavrov? That's Lavrov, excuse me. Anyway, so in Riga, Russians are using smart TVs, reporting seeing something atypical. A message appeared instead of the usual channels. The blood of 1,000 Ukrainians and hundreds of murdered children is on your hands. Read a message that took over their screens. TVs and TV and authorities are lying. No to war. So apparently there was a hack, according to stripes.com, which is, paramilitary, if you will. Your military members watch that, read that all the time. It's not the public affairs office, but it is a publication online. So basically, what they've gone into is they're saying that Americans are hacking. That there's, the hacktivists are attacking Russia, and all the hacktivists hate Russia, which is not true because if you think about it, if it was really going on, it would have been done many years ago. And it used to be that Anonymous, that hacktivists Anonymous, they had a Russian branch. They had branches all over the world that were working together to ensure that people could have basic rights. And they were working together. And all of a sudden, since Trump got in office, it seems like everybody got divided. And of course, everybody knows about the CIA or the FBI definitely being involved in the hacktivism there, and how they just scattered everything. It got fractioned hugely. It got fractured, excuse me, is the right word for it. It was totally shattered. Divisions all over the place. There were frauds in there. And of course, FBI. And a lot of people don't like the FBI when it comes to activism because they know what their plants. I mean, even as far back as the 70s and the 60s, the CIA was deeply involved with what activists were up to, especially during war and things like that. So basically, what you've got here now is a lot of BS is what's going on. And so they're going to lie through their teeth about what is going on. But what Russia did do is they did have their parades today. And funny enough, I went to go watch the parade on RT.com. And guess what? RT.com is not allowed on YouTube in this country. We can't watch RT.com on YouTube anymore. Great. Talk about. So it looks like even RT is formulating or culling only information that is that's, I guess, US friendly. I guess the Office of Disinformation, that lady, she's going to be our memory hole manager, if you will. Anyway, so Putin did speak today. It was a good speech, and a lot of people are talking junk about it. Excuse me. A lot of Western media is talking junk about Russia's speech, the Putin's speech, and everything like that. He does have a grave look on his face, and he should. His country's at war. All right, and there's sanctions everywhere. But he said something today, and it really, it kind of struck me. He was talking about exceptionalism, Americans and their exceptionalism. Now, for the people who have never been to other countries, for the people who have been in the West all the time and they don't know anything outside of Western media, they do not understand that when you hear the phrase American exceptionalism, it's not a compliment. Okay. It's actually said with derision because we do act like we are exceptional. We are very flagrant um, with our antics. We and I say we Americans, we do. We go overseas, we go to other countries, and we're American, we're this, and we got our chests out about it. The thing is that it can be quite offensive. I'll give you an example. Well, actually, I can give you several examples, but the one that struck me worst was when I saw in Belgrade, and we're in line. People are getting stuff at the store. You're getting coffee, whatnot. Eggs, whatever have you. Just a little store, and these very young American kids. I call them kids. I don't think they were 18. I think they might have had fake IDs. I don't know, but they were acting very brazen in there. We're gonna party, and they're buying all the top shelf stuff, and they're just throwing their money down, hundreds of dollars at the cashier, or not dollars, excuse me, hundreds of euros at the cashier. And they were not reading the room, that's for sure. Because if most people at the time, your monthly salary was about 300 euros. So these kids coming in, just these kids coming in with hundreds of euros. I mean, they're just bundles of them, and throwing it at the lady buying very expensive liquor, and a lot of it, and having them and of course everybody has to stop what they're doing so that the cashier can go get the liquor and everything from the top shelves. That one too. Or they're thinking about it, and they're holding up the line, holding up progress. They're not reading the room. That was an example of American exceptionalism. We go out there, we just don't read the room with the locals and be not sensitive, but be aware of how we're being perceived. People over there, when they see Americans acting like that, they think that all Americans are rich and rich and rich. Well, we do have a higher cost of living here. So, of course, when we have a few $100s, that's not very much to us, but that's a whole month's rent for somebody over there. And, or their whole, monthly wages. And they're just throwing it around on liquor like that, and they're going to get drunk. And like I said, acting in a way very brazen, and it's not good form. It is not good form. Another example is when I was in Japan, I got to see this American, and he was in a base, and a military exchange, PX, the retail stores, and this lady, she was a Japanese lady working in the store, and her English wasn't really great, and she wasn't one of these smiling. She was an older lady at the time, so the elders, the women generally don't smile, with their teeth and everything like that. They might have a pleasant look on their face, but you have to be able to read, read their faces. And this guy, he was going off, and she's sitting there trying to wait on a customer in front of him. And what she had told him is, please go to the other register because this is going to take some time. And he raised hell with her. So they called me to see what's going on, to help out the situation. And I find that he was being brazen. And I told him, I said, she told you, this register over here is open and you can go there and get waited on. And so you're not having to wait on her because she's doing a huge flower order and it's going to take time. He said, well, she didn't say it that way. She said it really rude and nah, 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 nah. And I said, dude, English is not her first language, and she did tell you she wasn't mean at you or anything like that. He said, well, she's on a Marine Corps base, and so she should know how to speak English. I dare say, you are in the country of Japan. Maybe you should learn Japanese, perhaps, and learn the culture. And he just kept on and going on and on, having no idea that the man in front of him that wants to be waited on was a captain. So captain turns around and he just waylaid into the guy for not reading the room, for not being aware of your surroundings. And that's something, all Americans, I've always advocated that all Americans, when we go overseas, we are ambassadors. All different countries, when they go into different countries and they're conducting business, or they're in sporting events, or they're just traveling, they're tourists or whatnot. Everybody's representative of their country, whether they like it or not. That's part of having a passport, is you understand that your actions reflect on the rest of the country. Anyway, so back to American exceptionalism. We conduct ourselves like this all the time, and it's repugnant. It is repugnant. We get to say whatever we want, because we have First Amendment rights. Well, we don't have First Amendment rights in other countries. We don't have First Amendment rights when we're talking to other countries. We need to understand, um, you know, subtleties and culture, and we need to understand each other. And I think that this brazen arrogance that we are quite arrogant when we go overseas. We marvel, and we don't let those other countries and people of those other countries see just how ridiculous some of our little rules are here, some of the sensitivities we have, like saying "you people." Excuse me for a moment. Saying the phrase "you people" over there in other countries, it doesn't mean anything. Let's see here. What? Yeah. Okay. Um, excuse me. I'm getting to bumped and everything here. Um, so let's see here. Mm, go to. By the way, I am on Element right now, so I think it should be posting on Element. Sky TV, I think we called. It. Yeah. Um, so anyway, we are on Element, and Element is an open source mode of communication. So I'm doing that. And well, there's not just me doing it. There's a lot of people starting to get over there, and because it's open source and it's fully encrypted and peer-to-peer encryption. And here's the thing, beauty about it. Okay, this Element program, you can go and if you don't have internet service at your house or whatever, but you've got signal on your phone, and you can tap into the internet. You can get on the Element if you have the app already. Okay, and it's free. Free is good. You can go there and do that, and like I said, and you can converse with me. You can converse with many others. I will put the link in the description down below. Oh, by the way, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I'm going to get this channel going. I'm lucky one with, well, usually I'm on tfrlive.com, but we've been having some technical issues lately. So that's why I'm doing this here now. Anyway, back to the news. I apologize. Back to the news. So Putin did give that, he mentioned the American exceptionalism. And, it's funny that there's some words that are similar in Russian and Serbian, and I know some Serbian, and I'm remembering some of the words that he used. I was like, oh, he said bez granica is like without borders. I'm like, I remember that, without borders, bez granica. Anyway, so he was, he was watching the parade go by, and I have to say, I am really impressed with the Russian army and their discipline in the ranks as they're marching. Now, you can't get of people in America to do that great big regiment size units going through and marching in such precision. And the fierce pride, there was some of them, they were smiling, man. They were happy. They were proud. They have every right to be. Russia has come from a really bad place when they were the Soviet Union. It was rough for them. And then when the oligarchs took over, it was economic destitute people. And Putin and his crew, the people that he's been working with, they got the country back up on their feet. And And the sanctions, last time when Obama set the sanctions against Russia, everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's going to kill the Russians. No, it made them thrive. Why? Because what Russia realized is, oh, so we're not allowed to trade with this person, this person. We're going to have to depend on ourselves. So they started up their manufacturing. They started manufacturing great and quality goods, their foodstuffs, and they were working on the oil, and they got a lot. Excuse me, they got a lot of stuff done. And it's interesting how it turned out, because basically all they were doing is they were, conceding to not Armenia, but Crimea's wishes. Crimea wanted to become part of Russia, be a federation of Russia. And that's exactly what they did. They voted for it, they wanted it, despite all the threatening violence and the horrible violence that took place over there. Okay. So now we are going to deal with Ukraine. Now, Scott Ritter has been on our show, as has been Russell Bentley. I would love to see Vanessa Beeley or Eva Bartlett come on my show. I would love to hear them come on my show and do an interview. So if anybody has any contact with them, would you please get a hold of them? I'd love to have them on, because they are really good. And I've said on Twitter, and you can follow me there at Truth Frequency News on Twitter. Or actually, I do need to start the Quantum Connections channel Twitter handle going. Get that going too. Anyway, so what I aim to do with this channel is have a video backup of when tech issues happen, if storms happen, whatever have you. When these things happen, I want to have a video backup of this. I'm trying, I'm working on things, and my hair's all gray and I got to get my hair done. But I'm at that point where I'm just debating whether should I color it again or just let it go ahead and go white. Don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so back to the news. Let's see here. So Russia and Putin, they're doing good. Something else that Putin had said was NATO countries didn't want to hear us, which means that in fact they harbored completely different plans, and we saw it. They were open preparations for a punitive operation in Donbass and an invasion of our historical lands, including Crimea. He also added that Kiev also announced plans to restore its nuclear capabilities. Now, the thing is, there was the Minsk agreements. There were all of these agreements that took place at the bringing down of the Soviet Union, to separating all these things. And one of them is that NATO will not be encroaching or expanding onto Russian borders. That promise was broken. Excuse me. There's also, what was the other thing? The other thing was nuclear weapons, that they were not to be installed that close to Russia. There were supposed to be nuclear reduction, if you recall. Remember all the inspectors going over to Russia and checking all this stuff? Yeah, right? Remember that? So Russia's complied with it, but NATO has expanded constantly. It has been lascivious in its expansion. Let's be real. Okay. And yes, I use that term. So, everybody who's not NATO happy, who's not slap happy with NATO, they're really worried about NATO, because NATO is supposed to be the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Okay. North Atlantic. Okay. Not Mediterranean Sea, not the Black Sea, not the freaking Adriatic, not the Indian Ocean, not Pacific Ocean. Enough. NATO has grown into this huge, bloated system. And Trump was right about wanting to get out of it, because basically it's the United States that's funding everything, just like the United States is constantly funding Ukraine. billions, I dare say trillions of dollars have been sent to Ukraine already. In addition to, since 2014, um, the United States has been sending billions over there. And the thing is that we're being held responsible. We people, you and me, the people who are working every day and saving and trying to, do the right thing, and we're paying our taxes too much. But um, the thing about it is, we didn't want this. We didn't want all this money being sent to Ukraine. If people want to send money to Ukraine, freaking send money to Ukraine if you want to. That's your business. I shouldn't have to pay for it. And I certainly shouldn't have to pay taxes to, or interest on taxes, or interest on the loans that the Congress is getting from the Federal Reserve to do this. Haven't we had enough? I mean, when are we going to learn? When are we going to not let these politicians do it? They do these freaking bills, and they're like omnibuses, and omnibuses means basically it covers everything. Instead of having a single law being put into effect, or a single act being done, instead of that, you got all these riders and amendments, and pork barrel politics going on, all kinds of pork added to these bills and acts that they're doing. The thing is that, I mean, if you, me, Joe Blow down the street, were to go to a business and enter into a contract with that business, we wouldn't be able to say, well, this too, and this too, and this too, and this too, and you got to take it. No. So why is Congress doing that to us? Congress is constantly voting themselves raises. Shoot, it's not even their payroll that's taking a huge amount of money now. Now it's all this money and equipment and weapons being sent to Ukraine. Speaking of which, Elon Musk, there was another commentary where one of the cosmonaut said something about Elon Musk sending those Starlink equipment and satellites to Ukraine, saying what I had said as soon as I had heard about it, that made Elon Musk a military target, because his equipment are military targets, because they're engaged in it. And just because he's a civilian doesn't mean, he's not acting in this. Just like Russia is going to punish any of these mercenaries that are going over there. Oh, and another thing too, it was the Pentagon that did the shipping of the Starlink equipment. Now, previously I had reported it was the State Department that did it, but it was actually the Pentagon. The Pentagon sent the craft. So that basically means your military has carried that equipment over there. That's a big no-no, because the United States is not supposed to be involved in this. The United States is not supposed to have troops over there. Apparently we do. Okay. Those reservists, those military reservists that we have that have gone over there to, help Ukraine. One, they're being set up. Okay. Because Ukraine, though, I've heard from mercenaries from London. There's been other mercenaries that has done YouTubes and TikTok saying, don't come over here. It's a trap. All right. So please, if you're American, and especially if you've been in the military, you're a veteran, or you're acting as a merc, you don't want to go over there, because Russia is not going to treat you like a combatant. They're not going to treat you like a POW when they capture you. Okay. You're not messing with some street kid. This is not Mogadishu. This is not Afghanistan. This is not Iraq or Iran. This is not the same thing, guys. Seriously, you want to stay out of there. This is a well-trained army. And don't believe the mainstream media when they tell you that the Russians are poorly organized, that they don't have food, that they don't believe that mess, because I've got people on the ground over there and they're telling otherwise. They're explaining that Russians are feeding the people in Ukraine. They are feeding those people, the civilians. Don't do it. Don't go over there. Anyway, so I got sidetracked again. let's see here. So he said something else that Putin had said was Russia has a different character. We'll never give up our love for motherland, on our faith and traditional values and customs of our ancestors, respect for all peoples and cultures. The interesting thing was I took a screenshot of where Putin was shaking hands with the aged generals there. And when I say aged generals, I'm thinking they're retirees. They look like they came from World War II. And in the background, you could see two women, and they have light pink uniforms on. And I'm like, oh gosh, there's no issues with the pronouns there. Okay, they really don't. They really don't want. They don't want to hear anything. What you think you are. Anyway, so um, that's enough of that one. Let's see. What was this? Abortion digital. Oh, yeah. That's something you need to know. Abortion, digital privacy. Let's take a look at that. I have to get another page up because Washington Post wants your email and, for you to pay for the information. Let's see here. What do we got? Okay, so CNN did actually cover it too. So here we go. Wired. Now let's go to CNN. I hate to do it, but here we go. So or you've been at abortion clinics, your search history, location data is how personal data could be used to enforce anti-abortion laws, they say. So a wave of new legislation taking aim at abortion rights across the country is raising concerns about the potential use of personal data to punish people who seek information about access or abortion services online in some restrictive states. Okay, so basically they're going on about the draft opinion. Now, isn't it funny? Somebody said, isn't it funny that on the liberals can't tell can't tell the difference what a woman is, but now that the abortion issue is up, they sure as hell do know what women are now, don't they? Because women's rights, to her, her body and everything like that. But somebody else responded, womb, womb on, uterus and womb, men, womb, men, woman, duh. If you don't have a womb, you're not a woman. Anyway, so the CDC tracked millions of phones to see if Americans followed COVID lockdown orders. All right. Now, I've spoken previously about this, how how freaking Tennessee was watching the traffic patterns all throughout Tennessee. Governor Bill Lee sent out a memorandum stating that he was alarmed at how many people were driving on the highways and freeways and the amount of people driving out there on the interstates and such was more than pre-COVID levels. And he was alarmed, and he stated, we're tracking you with the cell phone towers, with all the cell phones going through these cell phone towers. I was like, what? No, you didn't. Anyway, so yeah, this is a real thing. The CDC can also track millions of phones to see if Americans followed the COVID lockdown orders. The recently released documents planned to use phone location data to monitor schools and churches and wanted to use the data for many non-COVID-19 purposes also. This comes from Vice.com. So Vice is usually more on the liberal side. So they must be really worried if they're posting this. Anyway, so CDC bought access to location data harvested from tens of millions of phones in the United States to perform analysis of compliance with curfews, track patterns of people visiting K-12 schools, and specifically monitor effectiveness of the policy in the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation. That is sovereign territory. That is a nation. They encroached on another nation. Okay, anyway, so you don't need me to tell you how bad that was. Anyway, so according to CDC documents obtained by Motherboard, the documents also show that although the CDC used COVID-19 as a reason to buy access to the data more quickly and intended to use it for more general CDC purposes. Location data is information on a device's location sourced from the phone. I was about to show you how to turn it off. Anyway, which can then show where a person lives, works, and where they went. The sort of data the CDC bought was aggregated, meaning it was designed to follow trends that emerged from movements of groups of people. But researchers have repeatedly raised concerns with how the location data can be de-anonymized, de- figured out, and used to track specific people. The documents revealed the expansive plan the CDC had last year to use location data from a highly controversial data broker. That's SafeGraph, the company the CDC paid $420,000 for access to 1 year of data, includes Peter Thiel and the former head of Saudi intelligence among its investors. Google banned the company from the Play Store in June. If Google's banning it, you know it's bad, right? Anyway, this thing decided to. Anyway, so do you? Let's see. The CD. Let's see. Here's. Do you work in the location data industry? Oh, okay. Never mind. The CDC used the data for monitoring curfews. Curfews. Curfews? I don't do curfews. Anyway, with the document saying the SafeGraph's data has been critical for ongoing response efforts, such as hourly monitoring of activity in curfew zones or detailed counts of visits to participating pharmacies for vaccine monitoring. The documents date from 2021. Zach Edwards, a cybersecurity researcher who closely follows the data marketplace, told Motherboard in an online chat after reviewing the documents, the CDC seems to have purposely created an open-ended list of use cases, which included the monitoring curfews, neighbor-to-neighbor visits, visits to churches and schools. So all you obedient Romans 13 Christians, yeah, they're monitoring when you visit churches and you voted for these people. Bill Lee is supposedly conservative and Christian and business friendly. Anyway, schools and pharmacies are also a variety of analysis with the data specifically focused on quote unquote violence. The document doesn't stop at churches. It mentions places of worship. Oh, okay. So all you Muslims who go to mosque, all you Jews who go to synagogue, and all you pagans who go to the different sabbats and espats. Yeah, so you go into your friends, and as far as the government's concerned, you're just going to your friend's house, but it might be the coven meetings. Yeah, so this is all places of worship. If you go out in the middle of the woods, they're going to know it. Anyway, so these documents were obtained by Motherboard through a Freedom of Information Act. The documents contain a long list of what the CDC describes as 21 different potential CDC use cases for data. They include track patterns of those visiting K through 12 schools by the school and compared to 2019. Compare with Epimetrics Environmental Performance Index if possible. Examination of correlation of mobility patterns data and rise in COVID-19 cases. Movement restrictions, border closures, interregional and night curfews to show compliance. Compliance. That's what they want us to do, is comply. I got your compliance hanger. Anyway, examination of the effectiveness of public policy on the Navajo Nation. I'll tell you what, I'm just so disgusted at what they've done. I mean, God. Anyway, at the start of the pandemic, the cell phone location data was seen as a potentially useful tool. I bet it did. Multiple media organizations, including New York Times, used location data provided by companies in the industry to show where people were traveling to once lockdowns started to lift, or highlight that poorer communities were unable to shelter in place as much as richer ones. The COVID-19 pandemic as a whole has been a flashpoint in broader culture war, with conservatives and anti-vaccine groups protesting government mask and vaccine mandates. They've also expressed specific paranoia that vaccine passports would be used as tracking or surveillance tool, framing vaccine refusal as a civil liberties issue. Robert Kennedy Jr., Children's Health Defense, one of the more influential and moneyed anti-vaccine groups in the U.S., has promoted fears that digital vaccine certificates could be used to surveil citizens. Duh! Imagine that. QAnon promoter. Okay, we don't abide in QAnon. Okay, so this is a QAnon-free zone. Anyway, let's see here. Yeah, I'm gonna pass that up. So, Anyway, again, against the inflamed backdrop, the use of cell phone location data for such a wide variety of tracking measures, even if effective for becoming better informed on the pandemic spread or informing policy, is likely to be controversial. It's also likely to give anti vaccine groups a real world data point on which to pin their darkest warnings. Okay, so let me get my breath. These people, they're so bothered about the cell phone location data for all these different tracking measures. So, what about the Amber Alert system? What about all those phones? What about tracking measures like that? Really? So, if this was really if the location thing was supposed to be helpful, it's not. All right. It's not being helpful. It has nothing to do with that. Um, it's more along the lines of it's a mode to monitor and ensure compliance, because right now it's, well, they just want to see if you're being compliant. Well, before that, or after that, excuse me, they're going to be enforcing compliance. To which I say that's not compliance. Forcing somebody to do something is not compliance. Anyway, so let's see here. I'm going to take a break. All right, and I will be right back, I think. Let's see here. How's this doing? Let's see. I'll tell you what, if you listen to X Squared Radio, Brooks Agnew, he did a great show last night. All right. It was a very, very good show. You can tell the man loves you. You can tell he just has such great love. You can hear it as he does his show. So I would recommend everybody getting some of that, you know. So here's the I'm trying to find where we yeah. Okay, so everybody's heard of what an NPC is, right? Okay, NPC is supposed to be a non-player character. But I'm going to explain it out, so be patient for those who don't know what that means. Okay, an NPC means non-player character. These are the characters that when you go into a video game, an interactive video game, and say, for instance, it's what is it, World of Warcraft or whatever. Okay, so your character's going along, and you have to do a quest, and you have to go talk to so and so. So you go to talk to so and so, and that is a non-player character. Okay, they have their scripts, what they're supposed to do, and things like that. So now there is a segment of the population calling the other segment of the population NPCs, because they're like brain dead. And a good example is those who, okay, here's a good example. Somebody driving by themselves in their car with the mask on. That is a brain dead. That's going to be a brain dead somebody too. Okay, because you're depriving yourself of necessary oxygen, and you need that oxygen so that you can be more attentive and more responsible when you're behind the wheel of the car. You need to stop wearing the mask when you're in the car, especially just stop wearing the mask altogether. You need fresh air. You need sunlight. Okay. So that's what we're talking about. There's other examples. You know, people who are sitting there watching their phone so much they're zombified on their phone, and they're walking across a crosswalk and walk right in front of a bus that's going to kill them. Okay. That kind of thing. That's a more like an NPC. These are people like they're mindless drones. They're not thinking. They don't have critical thinking. They're not even aware. There was this one lady. Oh man, it was the most intriguing thing. I was talking to her. This was like years and years ago. And when I was talking to her, we were at a picnic bench. We're all sitting there eating and everything like that. And I said, "Man, it looks like it's going to rain," because there was a lot of rain clouds coming in from the west. And she said, and she goes, "Yeah, we need some rain too. So that's a good thing. We need rain." And I looked at her. I was like, "Why did you say that?" And she goes, "What?" I said, "That. Why did you say that we need rain?" And she said, "Because we do." I was like, "Have you been here for the past 2 weeks, or were you out of town?" And she said, what was it? How did she say it? She goes, no, I've been here. I said, we don't need any rain. We don't need any rain at all. Did you just use that phrase and say that phrase to be part of a conversation that you're not really here for? She goes, I'm sorry, it was automatic. That's NPC. That's acting like an NPC. Um, but my mom, she had an insight on that, and you can see that on the video that I had posted some months ago. And what she said, well, then I'm an NPC. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, I'm an NPC. And I asked her to explain that. She said, well, think about it. You're talking about these non-player characters, and they're doing the same thing. They're just, the shopkeeper's doing this, and the maid, the milkmaid is milking the cow all the time and bringing the milk this way, and she doesn't have any script or anything like that. Just like, think about it this way: when I was going to when she was going to college, when she was going to college, she was taking the same route home every night at the same time with the same outfit on because she wore scrubs, and she was wearing the same outfit in the same car at the same time every night, and taking a left-hand turn at this time. She says, I'm somebody else's NPC. And that gave me a great deal of insight on how to be careful on just labeling somebody an NPC, because she had a valid point. That was a very good point. So those who are thinking highly of themselves and thinking that, oh, I'm not an NPC, they're an NPC. Well, when you're pointing your finger at one person, there's three fingers pointing back at you, right? So I totally diverged, but um, I had a thought about something. I don't know if others consider it, but the multiverse. I know there's a lot of discussion on multiverse and everything. People are talking about it. Nobody's in a real authority. There's a lot of theory. There's a lot of educated theory on it, but there's a lot to be thought of on this. But there's a multiverse, and as it's presented to us by the mainstream, by media, by movies and entertainment, and even in theory and in lectures and such, the way it's presented to us suggests that we are predisposed to occupations or characters based on ourselves in other verses, if in other universes or multiverse. So it begs the question, that means there would be one of you in each one, right? But there's no way two sides are going to exist. Everything's going to be one or the other. So where are you yourself? Are you spread out over these multiverses? Or are you concentrated, like there can be only one, that kind of thing? That's a good question. So when you center yourself, right, there is, I don't know. This is a really deep subject and everything. But if you are the original, you lose all the other versions of yourself if you are totally centered and collected unto yourself. Does that make sense? So it might be that the real person, like you see this NPC over here, right? You're looking at that NPC, they're on the street corner every day at the same time and everything like that. But their other self in another universe might have concentrated themselves all unto themselves and taken their whole essence into themselves in that universe. So here, all we see is the shell or the avatar just doing its scripts. That's pretty deep. Anyway, so I don't know. So by centering and purging all the extra scripts that you don't need, all the bad programming, getting rid of all that. That's what purging means, is to rid yourself of the toxins, rid yourself of the useless matter and matter, brain matter. No, mind matter, the stuff that doesn't matter. Get rid of it. Yeah. So getting rid of that and you concentrate all of yourself from all the multiverses to yourself. That's going to be an interesting discussion. Anyway, so the NPCs, so if you collect yourself here in the multiverses, the use the you the use guys that are in the other multiverses will be NPCs. I'm thinking maybe. Um anyway, so there's anyway, we might be having a depression coming up. Well, I say might because I don't want to bring things into existence, but it could be. I dare say we've already been in a long-term depression. All right. If you think about it, look at how many years we've all had to slave at the jobs, at the workforces. We've been working and working and working. How many of you have worked for 20 years or more and you have nothing to show for it? Why? Because you barely made enough. Your house burned down and you never could recoup all the losses. Your company shut down or you got fired and you've been operating on bare minimum. If you don't have any, and you think you own your land, but you don't, because if you don't pay your taxes every year on your land, you lose it to the government. The government didn't buy that land. It's not their land. It's your land, right? The house is yours. It's not the government's. Why are they coming in and they're taking this tax and telling you that you're going to lose your house if you don't pay those taxes? The mortgage, which means basically the dead note, that you're going to pay unto death. That's what mort means in the basic Latin, is mort. Um, anyway, so the point I'm making is that we've been in a long depression, but I do think that with the antics that the government, and I'm talking about the American government specifically, I may be including other parts of the world. I think many parts of the world did the same thing. Australia, the government of Australia is just horrible what they did. Anyway, they pushed people too far this time, and I think they showed their hand. Now that they're exposed, they're trying everything to get the people back in line, and that's the thing. It's kind of like an abusive relationship, and the one person in the relationship just goes too far and is trying to do everything to get this person back in, get the victim back into the norm, what the norm was. Okay, by hook or crook, bribing, promising. That's what those stimulus checks were. There was a lot of, there's a lot of, you're allowed to do this now. What? Anyway, so the thing is, oh, in addition, think about it this way. It's not just, there's a lot of us who are rebelling. We're non-complying. Think about it too. Russia is in non-compliance too. The whole of Russia. They're not putting up with the bullshit. I can say this is my channel. They're not putting up with the bullshit anymore. Yeah. And somebody told me that the Russian strategy is keep shelling and nonstop until it's over. Yeah. Anyway, but think about it this way. So now we've got the United States engaged via Ukraine, engaged in warfare with Russia, right? Via Ukraine. Ukraine's a proxy, whatever. All right. But think about it this way. Pluto is back in our orbit, if you will. Pluto is back in the astrological alignment where we are in the midst of a revolution. Okay. The last time this alignment took place was in 1775 and 1776. Okay. And back then, King George could not control the colonists because of the war with France. So we're back in that planetary alignment. And, the United States government cannot control the colonists, which should be us, because they're too busy paying attention to Russia. So we need to just keep on. Let's see here. So Elon Musk, he had tweeted something the other day. He said, or actually it was today. There was testimony of the captured commander of the 36th Marine Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Colonel Dmitry Let me try this again. Kormyankov. I'm sorry. It turns out that the internet terminals of Elon Musk's Starlink satellite company were delivered to the militants of the Nazi Azov Battalion and the Ukrainian Marines in Mariupol by military helicopters. According to the information, the delivery of the Starlink equipment was carried out by the Pentagon. Elon Musk, thus, is involved with supplying the fastest forces in Ukraine with military communication equipment. And for this, Elon, you will be held accountable like an adult, no matter how much you'll play the fool. And Elon responded to that. The word Nazi doesn't mean what he seems to think it does. I dare say the Russians are fully cognizant of what Nazis are. There is no dispute. Because while some demographics claim that they were the worst treated by the Nazis because they lost, 6 million people, Russia lost 20 million. Yeah, I think it was, 20 million. All right. In World War II, China lost 40 million people. These are deaths. So everybody crying and moping around and, beating their chests about, how bad things are for any one demographic. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so Elon Musk, I had said that a long time ago about the Ukraine and sending the Starlink stuff. I had said that a long time ago. And same thing with the Nazis. I mean, if somebody's going around sporting a swastika, and I'm not talking about the Indian one, that means fortune and good luck. I'm talking about the one that the Germans used. If somebody's going around sporting that, you can pretty much assume that they're a Nazi, and especially if they have the SS, the lightning strike SS thing on there. And if you see other, other Nazi type of things, and I'm not talking about the Nordic stuff. The Nazis stole, and I hate calling them the Nazis, but anyway, the Nazis stole that. They stole those symbols from the Norse pagans. All right, and the runes. It's the runic symbols. They stole it from them, and the swastika was actually Indian. I think it's Hindu, I believe. And it means good fortune, good luck, health, wealth, good fortune, like I said. So the thing is that when people are, I put that on the wrong page. Okay. Excuse me. When people are disputing all these things between that's Nazi, that's this, and everything like that. The thing is that the Azov Battalion is a Nazi or a neo-Nazi group. Now, the Western media has very little to show. I'm talking about Google and things like that. They will not show the real stuff that was going on. There was, when I was in Yugoslavia up until 2016. There was a lot of videos sent back and forth because the censors, they don't have censorship over there like we do here. There were these girls, there was these girls that were celebrities, because they were super neo-Nazi. And the Azov Battalion was full of Nazis, and they are promoting themselves as that. They follow Bandera, Stephen Bandera, I think his name is, who was a radical dude. Okay. And there's a lot of bloodshed going on. And the thing is, you want to scare people half to death? See a bunch of people in Nazi uniforms or quasi-Nazi uniforms. Ask a Serbian, any of the Serbians, Yugoslavian, or excuse me, Montenegrin, or the Belgrade, or the Serbian people, how they felt when they saw the Ustashi uniforms back on the Croatians in 1989, 90. I forget when during the Balkan Wars. All of a sudden, boom, these Ustashi uniforms were on these people. It scared them to death because people do not forget history. We in America, History is a class we can fail and still get through, get through school and get our diploma. We can utterly fail it. Our history lessons are horrible. We do not know history like Europeans do. In Yugoslavia, when they taught history, they taught history, and that where it begins in time and all of history, not just Yugoslavian history, not Russian, not European, not Northern Hemisphere history. It was all history from the dinosaurs and all the different countries, everything they possibly knew that gets taught before they leave high school. In in addition, Serbian people and Montenegrin people before they graduate from high school. I know this used to be a rule. I don't know what's going on now that NATO is involved there. They could have gotten involved with the schooling. That's creepy. Um, all the students had to know who their grandparents are 14 generations back. The names, what they did in life, what was so special about them. Now, how many children or how many adults can tell you the history of the people in that preceded you in your family? Not many. Maybe grandparent, maybe a great grandparent. You know, there's some people I have met some Americans who could tell you the lineage of their family all the way back to the Civil War or back to the Revolutionary War. Um, they can't tell everybody's names, but they do remember the great things, who's in their lineage, who's in their history. So we can't do that. Most of us cannot do that. It's pretty sad because there has been a division between generations. And how did they do that? Oh, goodness, I didn't realize the time. Study your history, study your family history. I think that's a good idea. Do a special book report on your family history. Yeah, you get to turn it in. Anyway, I want to say I love you, everybody. I'm going to get going off of this. Just doing this as a trial run. Um, yeah, I love you. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time. Now, if I can find the off button here. That's not it. That's not it. Here we go. This might be it. All right. Good night, everybody. Oh, hi, Dawn. I didn't even see the chat room, guys. Hi. Oh, I got to say hi to the chat room. Okay, guys, hang on a second here. Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Hi, Gemini Moon and Dawn. Thank you so much for coming by. You guys got the messages. Thank you. Wow. You guys were talking. Okay. I'm going to jump off here now. I love you guys. We'll see you later. It looks like 4 viewers. Yay, me. Hey, hit the like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that next time I go live, hopefully my house will be in much neater and I'll look a little bit better. We'll see how it goes. I look like my mother right now. This is really looks like my mom. Anyway, good night, y'all.